there aren't many people, aren't many communities who have been through something similar to what we've been through in New Orleans. And so I've been excited about getting the opportunity to share, frankly, our successes and our failures with the hopes that you guys won't make the same mistakes that we did. So now, to live in New Orleans and to live in Louisiana is just to be familiar with disaster and familiar with hurricanes. Obviously, we had Hurricane Katrina, which really ravaged our community. We had Hurricane Ike, we had Hurricane Gustav, and even this summer, before Hurricane Sandy came up to the northeast, we had a hurricane to affect our community. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I am married to this woman, Melissa Harris Perry, and I wake up and clap every morning. And so, she used to teach in Princeton in New Jersey. And the most incredible thing that I accomplished in my life, frankly, was somehow tricking her to move from Princeton to New Orleans. And she said she would never do it because she said, well, of course, if I move to New Orleans, we're likely to get hit by a hurricane. So it was very hard to convince her. And one of the problems was that there was a huge blighted house across the street from the house that I live in, the house that I own. This is a picture of that house. And when we were courting and I was trying to get her to move to New Orleans, this house, which was damaged in Hurricane Katrina, had 4 walls. Right? And you can see 2 of them right now, the front wall and the side wall. After we got married and she had moved into the house, the rear wall completely fell off of the house. It was in that bad condition. She was not happy. And I had promised to try to do something about that house before she moved in, and obviously I had done nothing. It had gotten worse. The rear wall falls on the house behind it, and the grass is as tall as we are. And then something just terrible happens. One evening, around 5 o'clock, I'm doing math homework with our kid, and there's a shooting on the corner. 50 shots. And the guys who did the shooting hid in that blighted house. So it became clear to me that I had to take some aggressive steps. It wasn't just about satisfying the reasonable whims of my wife, it was also a basic fundamental safety issue dealing with this blighted property. So I fought and battled with the folks who owned it and convinced them to eventually sell us this blighted property. And so here's the point that I'm getting to. I get them to sell us the blighted property. They sell it to us at the end of July of 2012, which is the middle of hurricane season. And I learned a very important lesson, and it is the first lesson learned that I have for all of you, and that is thou shalt not buy a 3-walled house during hurricane season. This is what the house looked like the morning after the hurricane. You can keep going, there are a few more slides here. And here's the thing about the picture you just saw is that you see that the house was sitting on the power line. And so none of my neighbors could get power after the storm until we cleaned the house up. And my wife was so happy that we bought the house that she had just done a feature on her television show about our commitment to rebuild this blighted house in New Orleans. So she had walked through the house and everything. So it is now a vacant lot. But I think that I live and breathe disaster. I think that this is the truth, the evidence that I really get.